Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and let's talk about Star Wars: The Old Republic. I had played Star Wars: The Old Republic back in about 2014 during the summer, got to level 30 as a Sith Inquisitor, put about 30 hours into it, and then put it down. The reason for that was because, and to this day I still am, a Knights of the Old Republic fanboy, and it really wasn't what I love about that game. It was something different in many ways. However, I've decided to give it a shot again, and I want to make a video talking about why it is worth giving this game a shot in 2018, despite it being a pretty old MMO. Now, before all of this, I need to clarify one thing. The Old Republic is my favorite era in all of Star Wars. I love how it's kind of old school feeling, but yet it manages to feel fresh and different. By this I mean, you look at training sabers, vibro blades, some of the different clunky looking armor, and how they're just turning the corner on technology. It has a unique feel to it in Star Wars, which is predominantly known to be futuristic, right? When you look at clone trooper armor, Empire, there's this slick nature to it. Jedis are flipping around with perfection, there's these epic battles, but back in the Old Republic there was a lot of political conflict. On top of that, like I said, they were just turning the corner and figuring things out in terms of their entire galaxy, so it's a really unique time period, and as a ginormous Star Wars fan, I find it incredibly interesting to dive into every single time. So that was what was really pulling me back into the Old Republic. I love KotOR with all of my heart, but I wanted something new. Star Wars: The Old Republic is a free-to-play MMO now. You can pay a subscription fee, and I will get into free-to-play barriers down the line, but first I want to talk about what I really like about this game and why it is worth giving it a shot. For starters, the storytelling is exactly the biggest pull for this title. There's a level of effort and polish to the cutscenes that you don't see in MMOs, where when you are involved in a story segment, it very much feels like you are playing a single player game. Now, no, it's not like what I believe a member of the KotOR team said, which was these are actually KotOR 3 through 9. No, that's not the case at all. But I will say that the stories are very interesting. For me, as a Republic Commando at the level of 20, I am currently investigating the betrayal of Havoc Squad and why they've switched sides, this tale of mutiny, and how I pursue that tale, the light side or the dark side, is also very interesting. The reason for that is because choices are fun. It actually made me quite nostalgic of some of my favorite decisions I made in Knights of the Old Republic, where I thought, wow, I'm a really good person, or whoa, I can really fuck some people up. Here's a solid example of what I mean when you can really ruin some lives.
Please, soldier,
I like this. This is good.
This through. Cyborgs or not, we haven't done anything wrong. There's no reason to kill us.
Too bad. Drain air from the lab. Yep.
My orders are reason enough.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, fuck.
What? What are you?
Oh, that's just downright brutal. You know, like I said, choices are just fun to see what happens. The difference, though, is it's not like most single-player RPGs, where when you make a decision like that, you feel the repercussions. The world reacts to you, your party reacts to you. Since this is an MMO, 9 times out of 10, your party is your friends, and you're the ones reacting to it, so it makes for a bit of a different experience in the terms of role-playing, but it's about reprising that role because you can commit to the light side or the dark side, and there's gears based off both styles of play. You can get companions in this game. Mine happens to be Eric Jorgen, and when I do certain things, he will comment on them, and often the game will tell me when he approves or disapproves of it. As you build influence with him, you can have chats with him in the cantina, so it does manage to keep some of the DNA of KotOR while being something entirely different. I also want to appreciate the expansive, vast environments, which upon entry, you look at them, be really taken over of, wow, this is a tremendously big game. But sometimes those play spaces can feel hollow, right? Until you start indulging in a lot of content, the heroic repeatable missions, the side quests that are scattered about on top of the story missions. So you may have a trek from point A to point B that's incredibly long, but the title does a wonderful job pacing out the content and making that area feel fully rich of content. It's a constant cycle of walk in, feel overwhelmed, take in the view, be amazed, fill it up with content, complete it all, go into every single corner of that area, talk to everyone, and then repeat. I do also want to say that the reusing of some music from Knights of the Old Republic, like when I'm sprinting around Ord Mantell and I'm hearing the Paragus facility music, I mean, that is just the juiciness, man. I absolutely adore that, and that is something that only speaks to specifically KotOR fans like myself, but it shows the flexibility that I was not aware of within the Old Republic soundtrack, where you can hear something that's directly associated with one area specifically in a title and how well it works somewhere else in a different part of the universe. There's also obviously unique music created for the Old Republic, and it's also very good within the same vein, that orchestraic feel that Star Wars music is known for, and also the Old Republic, of course. Now, I will say this much, is that gameplay is arguably the weakest link here. It's very much a hotkey fest where you run into a group of enemies, you right-click them, you activate your same chain of abilities, you go through the whole shebang, and they're all dead. And there's very few abilities so far at the level of 20 that really connect and chain off each other. So far, I've got the grab shot, which then unlocks a different ability where I'm able to do a high-powered laser blast of some kind, which does bonus damage because the person's armor is down thanks to my gravity shot. So stuff like that is nice. I just wish there was more of it, so there's that direct interactivity with the gameplay and the world where you are doing something, seeing the action take place on the character, and because of that, you can do something completely different on them, thus keeping you looped in, where sometimes it does have that rinse and repeat type of feel. Is it bad? No. I will say another thing is that currently at the level 20 commando, I haven't really switched out my weapon all that much. I'm still using the big blaster cannon thing, and admittedly I'd like some variety there because that's one of the best parts of RPGs, right? Switching up your weapons. I do switch my armor very often, so that is good. It's just the weaponry. I'd like a little bit of tweaking on that. I also got to give a round of applause for the community, which is very non-toxic. I play this game quite often on Twitch, and I've noticed something with the Old Republic community in general is that they embrace one who loves what they love. I noticed that a lot of my viewers from my latest Twitch stream on KotOR was actually from the Star Wars The Old Republic Gamepedia site. On top of that, I've had Twitch viewers hop in, help me out, learn the game, because it can be a very difficult learning curve when you initially start off, because you're hit with tutorial after tutorial, menu after menu, and trying to learn the HUD, which I gotta say is another complaint of mine. It is a nightmare. There's a lot of hidden menus, there's a lot of things going on. Escape interface editor. Oh my god, what the fuck am I looking at? And there's stuff that I didn't know about, like for example, quick travel, which is really important, right? You need to be able to get to point A to point B fast, and I was running all over the place, getting a little tired of that, and then a viewer had told me, Matty, you can fast travel. And it was like tucked away in like an abilities menu. And one of my last praises is that it feels familiar in context for those of you who are like me, have played a lot of Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, but it has these new faces. For example, I go to do a flashpoint mission and I see Shatil Shan. I'm like, whoa. This is a connection to Bastila. It's not Bastila, but there's a connection there. And instantly I'm like, I need to know everything about her. I need to know every single thing about her, where she's placed in the timeline, what she did, why she's here, where can I meet her in person, stuff along those lines. Now the community, like I said, is great, and I'd love to interact with them more, but now we gotta get into some negatives, the free-to-play barriers. For example, if you are a free-to-play player, you can't use the chat. So when my friend and I were doing a flashpoint with two random people, they were talking to us, and we couldn't talk back. We couldn't communicate with them whatsoever and try to tell them like, hey, we'll do this to try to take down this incredibly difficult boss. What's the plan? Do you have any other ideas? Is there a way we can get an extra person in because someone had rage quit on us? On top of that, when you hit level 20, the game alerts you that unless you're a subscriber, you receive reduced XP, which strips away a lot of the fun of the MMO, right? The point of an MMO is to build up your character, create a new one once you hit the end game, right? And it takes exponentially longer now to hit that end game unless you're paying $10 a month. Now perks do come with paying $10 a month. You can get access to all the DLC that's come out, and of course all the perks that the game manages to hit you over the head with time and time again, but it doesn't do it in a positive reinforcement way. It feels much like a mobile title where they handcuff you and say, this is good, right? If you want more, you gotta pay. And I get they gotta make their money somehow. I just think there's better ways of approaching it without completely handcuffing the player. And there are certain approaches to that that do work. For example, if you're a subscriber, you can sprint right off the bat, which increases your movement speed by 35%. But if you're a free-to-play player, it's not until level 10 that you unlock sprint. Is it a bit of a hassle? Sure. But does it really get in the way of the gameplay experience? Not really. So I didn't feel the need to sub. But now at this point, I'm like, I'm missing out on so much XP and I feel trapped. I feel like I'm missing out, where once I hit level 40, it won't feel as good because I'll know that I could have probably been level 50 at the time, right? So those free-to-play barriers are annoying, but like I said, I've put a good amount of time into it and I'm still learning a lot about the game, where it's not like I'm feeling the pressure to sign up entirely. Because you can still keep playing, you can still enjoy these stories, it's still fully free to play, and admittedly, I leveled past a lot of the content in my game where the game had to scale me down for some of the missions itself. So ultimately, it could be an asset in the terms of balancing, who knows? There are times the title's a little bit buggy, which is weird because the game's been out for so long, where you feel like a lot of these issues would be stomped out, but there will be times I'll be in a cutscene and the person will be standing in a wall, or they'll walk into a wall and they'll disappear into said wall. They'll be floating in midair, stuff like that. Doesn't happen a total crazy amount of time, but since it does happen, and since the game has had so much time to be polished, it does stick out a little bit more. But that kind of does it for the complaint side of things. It's just those free-to-play barriers which are really intrusive, not in a good way either. The bugs and the HUD can be a bit of a nightmare to figure out, to tell you the truth. Maybe it's because I'm not as experienced of an MMO player. I did play a lot of RuneScape in my day. I mean, a lot when I was a kid. Hundreds of hours. It was ridiculous. I didn't spend time on any other game but RuneScape. I've played a lot of ESO, but I gotta say, KotOR's got my attention and I'm sticking with it. I'm liking what I see here, because what really got me over the edge to try this game was I was talking with a viewer at QuakeCon, and he was telling me how he didn't believe that Star Wars The Old Republic was the KotOR he loved, and I very much shared that opinion. But then after that conversation, I just briefly thought to myself, why do I think that? Is it stubbornness? Is it ignorance? I think I should just give it another try. And when I came back and tried it, I liked the storytelling. I feel like there was just a bad stigma that I had to shake off with the game and approach it as kind of how I've told people to approach Fallout 76 or ESO. Like, yes, this is more of what you love, but it's also very different from what we've known. And if you're expecting a certain type of game there that's simply never going to be there, then you have to kind of point the finger at yourself, right? And I had that experience with KotOR, where I hopped back and I was like, this is actually pretty good. I like the storytelling a lot. I like the world building a lot. Music's orgasmic. Codex is bulky. It's just worth giving a look, man. It's free to play, pretty quick download too for an MMO. So how about you guys? Are you experienced Star Wars The Old Republic players? If you are, fire away in the comments down below. Should people dive in? Is the subscription worth it? All that stuff. Give people the info. I tried my best. So fire away. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that, as it fuels all the content we create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.